16 away from 10 o'clock. It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160. I talked earlier this morning about how at this time of the year, there are things in the cycle of a school year that you anticipate as we come into the spring months. We're looking at things like the spring sports seasons, kids being able to get back outdoors and maybe do some playing and learning at the same time. Prom season will come along, graduation season, all of those things are on the way. But there's another thing that happens every year at this time in our school districts across the county, and that is kindergarten registration. And we've never really taken the time to talk about what that is like for parents and the things that they need to know for their kids. And so we asked Beth Genchur to come in. She is the principal at the Homer Center Elementary School, and she's going to visit with us on that very topic this morning. Our conversation is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Beth, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's good to have you with us here today as we talk about, it's a big change for not only the kid coming in, but mom has to let go of that kid, and sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. But let's start at the very beginning of the process. When a child begins the school career, it starts right here with the registration for kindergarten, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah, that's when we really start to get to know the families. That lets us know who's coming into our buildings, and even at least at Homer Center, it gives us a chance to get to know the kids a little bit. We do a little bit of an assessment with them, try to gauge what do the kids look like coming in, especially coming post-pandemic. That's been critical. So we know how to prepare for the next school year.
Yeah. Now, when we think about a child who comes for kindergarten for the first time, frequently, and probably with almost all of them, they have some background in a preschool environment, whether it's something that the school district is affiliated with or knows about, or some other preschool environment. And the levels of socialization that those kids have always are different, aren't they?
Absolutely. Kindergarten is one of those interesting grades, and I have so much respect for our kindergarten teachers because you get them at all levels, socially, academically, and then by the end of the year, they come out with this beautiful student, and they're all kind of ready to go. But you have to give kindergarten teachers so much credit because they can handle that mix of students that come in.
My son did some student teaching. He's a full-time middle school teacher now, but last year he did some student teaching, and he was supposed to be at one school, and he got there, and they said, "Hey, today you're going to have to handle kindergartners." And he said for him it was the most stressful time of his entire life. He said they hang on your leg. He says you're constantly bent over to see what their needs are. It's not an easy deal.
It is not an easy deal, and you get used to the short little chairs and desks really fast.
Do you hire short teachers at all?
That is not one of the requisites. Okay. Yeah, that's not a requirement.
All right, so mom and dad are thinking about this right now. Let's go over the basics. When is a child, or should a child get registered for kindergarten?
So depending upon the district, we start right now. Homer Centers is on Wednesday, so that's the initial registration process. Then a lot of times schools will have an orientation later on, and that's where we start bringing them into the schools along with the students. And then usually in the summer, there's a summer program, kind of that in-between transition program for them. But if they're turning 5 before September 1st, then they need to start thinking it's time to go.
Okay, if they're turning 5 before September 1st. And that will be part of the documentation that the parent must bring, correct?
Absolutely. Birth certificate, medical records, those are the types of things they would bring to a kindergarten registration.
So if they're coming Wednesday, what's the package that they're bringing with them?
So for Homer Center, we have our packet is online. It is available there. They can also stop into our elementary office and pick it up, but there will be all of the information, including where do they live, their birth date, medical records, include their diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis B, and the chickenpox vaccine. So they need to have proof of those, or at least proof that they're in the process of getting those. We ask families to bring in proof of residency just to make sure. Sometimes when they're close to the border, we need to make sure which district they're going to.
I wondered about that. I would guess there once in a while you get somebody who shows up that they're in the wrong district.
Yes, which is also why it's important to show up for registrations, because that first day of school you don't want to think that there's a bus coming from your child if they're not in the right district.
You mentioned birth certificate.
Hmm.
This has to be their official birth certificate, correct? And there's a
Yes.
difference.
Or at least an official copy of the birth certificate. So yes, we ask them to have that, our registration forms, and like I said, just the proof of residency.
Yeah, and it's so important about those immunizations because you don't get into the school without them.
No, unfortunately, they have cut back our leeway of even letting them get into the schools early and then having that extended time while people were working. So it's really important to be up to date on those.
So the parents, when they come for registration itself, do they need to have the child with them that day?
Yes, for us, they would bring the child in. We have multiple stations set up. They might be meeting with transportation, they might be meeting with our guidance counselor, but we also do a series of screenings with them. Our speech and language pathologist is there, and then all of our kindergarten teachers are there. So we do a really quick run through on things like letters, numbers, colors, shapes, just to kind of get an eyeball on what are we looking at. What kind of skills do kids have? We look at literacy. Do they know how to handle a book? Top, bottom, left, right? Do they know directionality? Just all of those early kind of beginning skills.
I'm guessing that at this, as this process unfolds, that there can be some tears. A child who has not been in this sort of an atmosphere before, has not really been, well, let's say they've been insulated or isolated from having contact with adults asking them questions. And sometimes those tears might not just be from the kid, they might be from mom or dad too.
We have definitely seen tears. Our guidance counselor and our teachers, I hate to say it's a part of what we do in kindergarten. It's part of what we do. So we have the ability to kind of go at the pace that the student needs. Sometimes we have kids who are just scared because that might be the first time that they've been separated from their parent. We have had parents who sometimes need to come with them, but we take it slow, easy. Our teachers are really friendly, so I think that's what helps get those little ones over the bump.
Yeah, and I'm sure that those who have older siblings that have been through the process, they've got that little background behind them, so that helps a lot with them. But if it's their first time,
Yeah, parents
it's
can be very nervous. Sometimes the parents are more nervous than the child, and
sure.
and that's understandable because they don't know what to expect.
Sure.
So,
When you get to those emotional times and things are so unfamiliar to a child, and it just takes them a while to settle in. I'm sure there are relaxation techniques or things that you can do to ease the tension for that child too.
absolutely. And that really just being in the environment where it is low key, which is really why we do our summer program. We do a half day summer program that runs about 2 weeks, 3 days a week in July. And that really helps those kids. They ease in, they learn where the cafeteria is. They get snacks in the cafeteria. They get to do the best thing ever, which is play with their friends on the playground. So they start making
Sure.
friends, especially if they're coming in and out of other preschools. It just gives them a time to settle before the pressures of school start to come in. And that just makes a huge difference because they come in, they're confident, they know where they're going, they know who their teachers are. And that really helps with that separation.
Okay, so once again, we need to reiterate when this all happens for Homer Center, and if somebody misses what's coming up, what can they do?
They can just call into our guidance counselor, Mrs. Lieb. We can set up some individual sessions if we need to, but it is set up for next Wednesday. We are online. There are schedules that they can pick a time slot. That way we don't have people waiting in line. But we are accepting walk-ins, but it is from 9 to 2:30 on Wednesday.
And when they get on campus, use the first parking lot on the right.
Use the first parking lot on the right and then come to the office. They will give you a visitor tag, and then we will actually be in our large group instruction room.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're excited.
Well, sure, because you're getting a whole new crop of youngsters coming in, and it is an exciting time. At the same time, as this year gets toward its end in a couple of months, you're going to be saying to a bunch of kids that are in their final year of elementary school, you're going up to that building up over the hill there a little bit, and for them, that can be a scary time for them, too. So probably I'm sure there's an orientation process for them.
Yes, there is an orientation process for them. That usually happens right before school starts. We actually will bring all of our seventh graders in prior to the big orientation, and they'll get to meet their teachers and go through their schedule. But for some students who have maybe a little extra anxiety or need that extra time, we can set up individual sessions for them to go up during this school year. We also set up over the summer times where they can tour the building. So if a student needs a little extra, we make sure that they're comfortable by the time they hit high school.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. We've just got a couple of months left in this school year. It goes so quickly, I'm sure. I don't know if it goes quickly for you.
It does. I
It
can't believe
does.
we're in March already.
But that means that you're winding into a new season. I mentioned before, kids who are in the elementary school now, they'll be able to get outdoors a little bit more, help that learning environment, and help them to maybe get a little brighter outlook on life too. Sometimes you get to this time of the year and you've been stuck indoors for so long. It's tough.
It is tough, and we try to get them outside as much as possible. They need to move, they need to run, they need that fresh air, just brain development. And again, that's more socialization than being in the classroom with their own peers. Rather see them out on the playground playing.
Sure, sure. And the teachers need a little bit of brightening up too, don't they?
We need the sunshine. We need beautiful days like this, just a little bit warmer though.
She is Beth Genchur. She is the principal at the Homer Center Elementary School. I want to thank you for coming in because, as I said, we get the notices and we put them on the air, but we never really know how deep a process this is. It's very involved.
It is. So thank you very much for inviting me.
I'm glad you came. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Well, if those kids are going outdoors today, they have a pretty nice day to do it. Sunshine mixing with some clouds. We're going to get up to 41 degrees today, cloudy skies tonight and down to 26. And then tomorrow, a cloudy morning, then partly sunny in the afternoon. We get all the way into the 60s, 62 degrees. Sunday will be the warmest day